I'm Sam Sutherland, and this is Extremely Online, a show we started to make about the internet before a global pandemic meant that the show was going to be really, really about the internet. Now these days, every place is abandoned, but before coronavirus, there were actual abandoned places. And for people like me who are afraid of those places, watching videos was sort of the only way to go there. Urban exploration is fairly self-explanatory. You are exploring urbanly. And for those brave enough to join this secret guild of explorers, you get to call it Urbex. Should I say Urbex? Does that make me sound more like I know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
Okay, good.
My name's Dave. I run the website freaktography.com. I'm called an urban explorer. And what I do is go into abandoned buildings, vacant buildings, basically anything that you're not supposed to go into. I take photos, I shoot video, and I put the content out there for people to see.
The excitement of going places where you know you're not supposed to go is kind of this elemental thing. I mean, it's why we do every stupid thing that we do. It's why people went to the moon. And Jeff Chapman, who is the creator of legendary urban exploration zine Infiltration, is like the Neil Armstrong of utility tunnels. The first issue of Infiltration was published in 1996, and Jeff Chapman's opening manifesto set the tone of urban exploration for decades to come. Faces were hidden, sites were left undisturbed, vibes were severe. And then, malls happened. Dan Bell's Dead Mall series is capitalism disaster tourism, simultaneously fetishizing and memorializing the end of the American dream.
So here we are, we're headed towards the other end of this corridor, which is where the Belk Home Men's and Kids would have been. On the right here is where a Deb clothing store was, and they of course went out of business. And this wing down here is totally dead. There's nothing left.
Before the internet, malls were the social network. I mean, that's where you went to hang out with your friends, to work, to meet new people, to have those hour-long discussions outside where you're smoking cigarettes. I mean, that's where you went. That's just not how it works anymore. Kids are on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook. You know, you don't need to go to the mall anymore. It's just an old idea that is no longer working.
It might feel really different from Infiltration, but really the Dead Mall series is like a subgenre. It's the way power metal doesn't feel much like grindcore. But they all kind of emerge from the same family tree.
There's no customers, but they have a customer service desk. Very strange.
In addition to viral videos about very, very sad Long John Silvers, Dan also makes more traditional urban exploration videos. The kind that I fell in love with as a kid, where someone goes into a very spooky place that personally I would be very afraid of going into.
Oh my god, I'm gonna fucking freak out.
And of course, I was not alone.
My interest in the creepy, haunted style of things goes back to the Michael Jackson Thriller video. Growing up, we used to go into abandoned houses and we'd go into the drains and sewers in Niagara Falls where I grew up, or going up on rooftops of buildings in the city.
So you kind of turned being like a bad kid into a job.
Pretty much.
Dave may be mostly crawling around places that are within driving distance of his home in Burlington, but his photos feel like they're shot on giant movie sets. And that is partially because they actually use what he does to make movies.
I had a woman who does production design for feature films, and she had bought a few of my photos as inspiration for movie sets. And so I get an email from Warner Brothers asking if they can license one of my photos to use in an episode of The Flash. They used my photo taken from a rooftop straight down at the end of the episode and superimposed the villain had fallen out of a window and splattered on the ground.
Do you feel like you're in a movie sometimes when you're in these spaces?
Like if I'm in an empty, boring house, I'm just in an empty, boring house.
Right.
But if I'm in a really interesting house that's full of somebody's contents and life and things, it is a surreal experience. It feels like something out of this world. The same goes for rooftoping. Climbing up on the roof of a skyscraper, it feels like you're in a whole different world when you're up on top of a roof.
I would never go, but I'm glad someone does. So now it feels like we're all living in a movie. And maybe like me, you don't feel super prepared. This is not the movie that we bought tickets for. Except people like Dave, they were uniquely prepared for this grim flick.
So this is my face mask respirator. This is good for dust and mold and stuff like that. I just carry a good pair of mechanics work gloves.
So you've basically been living like there's a pandemic for the last several years of your life.
Pretty much, yeah.
I made this out of a t-shirt.
Well, you'd be surprised, a lot of people will wear something like that.
Oh, really? So you're saying this is as good as your big purple thing?
No.
So how has coronavirus affected urban exploration for you?
If I'm looking to explore and photograph a house that's in a residential neighborhood, everybody's home. So it's a lot harder to be sneaky.
I love how the problems that you and cat burglars are experiencing are the same.
Yes.
Is it advantageous to have this as an outlet?
It really is. My wife and I, we just have a condo here in Burlington. To her, I might be annoying just being here all day, sitting on my phone, or then I try to watch TV, go to make something to eat, and she's trying to work, or if I'm feeling a little cooped up, I can get out and do some exploring and not feel like I'm not flattening the curve.
As a man currently pacing his own apartment in an attempt to shoot a television show on his cell phone, I have never ached for the outdoors like I do now. Even if the outdoors were just an abandoned strip club in a small Canadian town, what I would not give to be in an abandoned strip club in a small Canadian town.
And on the main stage, everybody, give it up for Freaktography.
So do you think that there are people who are living vicariously through the kind of content that you create?
Absolutely. I get a lot of comments from people who say they could never do what I do. They don't have the nerve, or in some cases they physically can't. The social media audience on Facebook, it's a lot of middle-aged and older women.
Really? Is it because you're you're like a beefcake? You're like a...
The YouTube audience is everybody. The Instagram audience is more other explorers. It's a pretty tight-knit community, and a lot of us follow each other and support each other.
What Dave does is not an essential service, but it certainly feels valuable during this strange time. And so it's sort of surprising when you talk to Dave and you realize that, like, the man's got haters. But don't we all?
When I got into it, there wasn't so much Facebook or Instagram, and it was mostly database websites. I'm moving along with technology. So when there's a new social media platform, I want to try it. If there's a new technology, I want to try it. There are some people that are completely against the way I do it. You've got the guys who don't believe in posting a location online until it's been demolished. There's some people who don't believe in sharing locations at all. Whether I post a location or not, that location is doomed. Eventually, somebody else is going to find it, and they're going to vandalize it. They're going to spray paint it. They're going to burn it. It's going to get demolished. Mother Nature's going to take over and all that kind of stuff. I'm not anyone to tell somebody else that they can't go to a certain place, and nobody's going to tell me the same. And I think that I can move the hobby forward while maintaining the original old school thinking.
Infiltration's most devout readers probably don't love the Instagramification of urban exploration. Fair. But they should probably get used to it.
There's a lot of photographers out there right now that are sort of taking advantage of the empty streets, and they're doing those eerie apocalyptic photo shoots where they run to the Eaton Center or Times Square, and they're just sort of bored and they're getting out, and it has brought out quite a few new people to the hobby.
My very honest hope is that all of this kind of new Urbex content, I'm going to keep saying it, is able to kind of build on what infiltration did. We look to exotic places, to think like, God, isn't that fascinating? The fact is, like, the world right out here is really freaky and interesting. And these people are out there showing us parts of it that we wouldn't otherwise get to see, even if it's just on a computer. When I was a kid, I was afraid of infiltrating, but now I'm like a, grizzled adult with a television show. I, as a consummate badass, am getting out there responsibly. Where I live, there's a abandoned slaughterhouse. So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna break in. Is that a good idea?
I think it's a great idea.
Oh, but I was really hoping you'd tell me no.
No, man, I think it's a great idea.
What should I actually keep in mind?
first thing you want to do is check to make sure that the security guard is still there. You need to know his patrol.
I feel like I'm in a heist movie. Okay, right, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I clock the security guard, right?
You need a good flashlight. If you wanted to take pictures, or if you just wanted to explore, it's up to you.
While making a television show.
Don't wear your running shoes. Don't wear sneakers. Wear a pair of good boots.
What if I wear like 3 pairs of Converse at once?
Well, that might work. Then you gotta find your way in. Good luck, don't get caught, and don't blame me.
Don't get scared.
Hey man, come on.
Yep. No.